Ever feel like trying to figure out external business partnerships is, I don't know, like trying to read some kind of secret code?
Huh, yeah. You know you need help from outside sometimes, but
But which kind? And how do you engage them? It can feel really, really murky.
definitely opaque.
Well, today we're going to try and cut through some of that fog, our mission for this deep dive, to decode these core ways companies work with external services. Things that, honestly, C-level folks and really anyone making strategic calls needs to get.
Absolutely. We're talking about outsourcing, outtasking, managed services, and professional services. The big four, really.
And the goal here isn't just definitions, right?
No, not at all. By the end, you should have a much clearer picture, like a framework. You get the differences, when to use each one, the upsides, and importantly, the trade-offs, things people sometimes forget.
So you can make smarter choices.
Exactly. Optimize resources, manage risk better, be more agile, get real cost effectiveness. It's about moving past gut feelings to, making choices based on actual evidence.
That kind of clarity feels crucial. I mean, how many times did these partnerships go sideways just because people weren't on the same page about what they were actually doing?
Oh, constantly.
Yeah.
It's fundamental. If everyone execs, teams on the ground understands what kind of help you're bringing in.
Hmm.
Is it the whole function,
Wow.
just a task,
Yeah.
ongoing support,
Yeah.
a specific project.
Yeah.
Well, that understanding builds transparency, it aligns what everyone expects, clarifies who does what, and just makes the whole thing run smoother.
Huh.
Avoids those really expensive misunderstandings down the line.
Makes sense. And today, with everything changing so fast, digital, global markets, working with outside providers isn't really optional anymore, is it? It's a core strategy.
It really is. And knowing these models lets you line up your choices with what you're trying to achieve strategically.
Mm.
Are you scaling up fast? Trying to zero in on what you do best? Speeding up digital transformation? The right model helps you get there.
Okay, great. Let's unpack these then. Where should we start? Outsourcing. That seems like the most common one people talk about.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Outsourcing. At its core, it's basically transferring responsibility for a whole business function or process. An entire thing.
Like IT support, maybe? Or payroll?
Exactly. Or customer service, HR functions. You're saying, okay, this third party now owns this whole area. They take full accountability for delivering it, the quality, performance, all laid out in an SLA, a service level agreement.
And it's usually for stuff that's, well, not your main competitive edge.
Right.
High volume, maybe, but not core.
Precisely. Think about payroll. You need it accurate, compliant, efficient. Outsourcing that frees up your internal finance folks for more strategic work. Or a tech company outsourcing basic IT help desk stuff so their engineers can build the actual product.
That makes sense. So if you're considering this, if you're that C-level exec looking at potential outsourcing partners, what are the absolute must checks beyond just the price tag?
Good question. First, you also need proof they know what they're doing. Real expertise, experience, ideally in your industry. Don't just take their word for it.
Track record.
Definitely. Then, their tech and infrastructure. Is it solid? Up to date? Can it actually connect smoothly with your systems? That's huge.
What else?
The quality of their people. Who are you actually getting? Are they top-notch? And can they scale, grow with you or handle fluctuations? Flexibility is key.
And communication, I imagine.
Non-negotiable.
Right.
Transparent communication, regular reporting. And those SLAs need to be comprehensive, really detailed. Plus, cybersecurity and compliance, huge risks there if they mess up.
Can't forget culture fit either, right? If your teams just can't work with theirs.
That can sink the whole thing. And yeah, always check references. Talk to their other clients, see what their reputation really is. It's not just about cost, it's overall value.
How do these usually get paid for?
Often fixed price, so you know what you're spending each month or year. Or increasingly outcome-based models. Pay is tied to results, like hitting certain service levels or achieving specific cost savings.
Okay, so the pros seem clear. Cost savings, maybe using cheaper labor elsewhere, focusing your own people on what really matters, accessing skills you don't have.
Right. Global capabilities sometimes.
But the downsides, handing over a whole function feels risky. You lose control, don't you?
You absolutely do give up operational control. That's the main trade-off.
Yeah.
And getting it set up, that whole transition phase, can be bumpy. There are risks there.
And getting stuck with a bad vendor?
Yeah, vendor lock-in is a real risk if you don't structure the contract carefully. Makes it painful to switch later if things go south.
Okay, that makes sense. So if outsourcing is the whole shebang, what if you just need help with one specific thing? That brings us to outtasking. Right?
Exactly. Outtasking is much more targeted. If outsourcing is hiring a caterer for the whole event,
Yeah.
outtasking is like hiring a specialist just to Say, make the perfect wedding cake, or maybe just handle the appetizers. You're still running the main kitchen.
So you delegate specific tasks or maybe bits of a process, but not the whole function.
Precisely. It's often for clearly defined things, sometimes repetitive, sometimes highly specialized activities.
When would you use this typically?
It's great for niche needs or when you suddenly get swamped with a particular type of work. Think specific software testing cycles, maybe a big data entry project, handling a particular compliance report, or tech support for just one very specific system you use.
Do you bring in specialists for just that piece?
Yep, you keep control of the bigger process, but get expert help where you need it most.
When you're picking an outtasking partner, the focus shifts a bit then.
It does. The absolute key is their specialized expertise in that exact task. You need really clear ways to measure quality and performance for just that piece, maybe smaller, focused SLAs.
And their tech needs to fit that task specifically.
Right. Plus, flexibility is crucial here, too. Can they ramp up or down quickly if your workload changes? And clear communication about how that specific task is progressing is vital. Again, reputation and references matter for reliability.
And payment here, less likely fixed price.
Usually. Often, time and materials you pay for the hours they work. Or maybe per task or per deliverable, you pay for each unit of work completed.
The advantages seem pretty obvious. A lot more flexibility, you keep way more control internally.
Yeah, much more control.
And it sounds easier to scale up or down for those peaks.
Definitely. Very scalable for specific needs.
But the downside, well, you're still managing the overall process, so it probably needs more hands-on oversight from your team, right?
It does require closer supervision. And if you start outtasking lots of different little things to different providers.
Coordination nightmare.
Yeah, coordinating across multiple providers can become a real headache if you're not careful. That fragmentation can be tricky.
Okay, moving on. Let's pivot to managed services. This sounds different again. Not a one-off task, not a whole department handover, more like an ongoing relationship.
That's a good way to put it. Managed services is really a strategic partnership. An external provider takes on the ongoing day-to-day running of specific systems or functions. Think operation, maintenance, optimization.
And it's governed by SLAs, too.
Oh yeah, clear SLAs are crucial. The provider is responsible for keeping things running smoothly, continuously. It's like having a dedicated external team managing a critical piece of your operations proactively.
So this is perfect for things that need to be stable, always on, mission-critical stuff.
Exactly. Like managing your IT infrastructure, keeping an eye on cybersecurity 24/7, running the network, managing cloud environments. MSPs manage service providers. They monitor systems constantly, fix issues often before you even notice, and look for ways to improve things.
Peace of mind, basically.
That's a big part of the appeal, especially for functions needing constant vigilance and deep expertise that maybe you don't have or want to build internally.
So when you're choosing an MSP, what are the absolute deal breakers or must-haves?
Well, first, they really need to get your business in your industry, not just be generic IT folks. Look for that proven expertise. Relevant certifications are good indicators too.
And their service offerings.
Needs to be comprehensive, cover what you actually need. And critically, they need to be proactive. Are they just fixing breaks, or are they actively monitoring, planning, trying to prevent problems? That's key.
Security must be huge here, too.
Absolute paramount.
Yeah.
You need to check their security posture, their compliance certifications, things like SOC 2, ISO 27001, IPA if you're in healthcare. These are non-negotiable.
Anything else?
Scalability, again. Can they grow with you? How flexible are their options? Communication needs to be transparent. Support needs to be responsive. Check the SLAs for specifics on that. And, as always, reputation, references, and clear, understandable pricing. No hidden costs.
And the payment model here is usually recurring.
Yeah, typically monthly recurring revenue or MRR, predictable monthly fee. Some things you see tiered pricing, different service levels cost different amounts. Maybe some pay-as-you-go elements depending on usage too.
Okay. Pros, predictable budget, performance is guaranteed by those SLAs. You get that proactive support, takes a load off your team.
Big advantages.
Cons, though, I guess you're buying into their way of doing things. Less custom, maybe.
That's often the trade-off. Offerings can be quite standardized, less room for deep customization compared to building it yourself. And you do become dependent on that provider's specific tools and capabilities.
Yeah.
It's less flexible in that sense.
Right. Okay, last one. Professional services. This feels quite different from the others, more project-focused.
Exactly. This isn't about ongoing operations or handing off functions long-term. Professional services is all about bringing in specialized, usually high-level expertise for a specific time-bound projects, or strategic initiatives.
So advisory work, maybe, or highly technical projects.
Precisely. Think strategic consulting, technical implementation for a big project. It's tailored expertise for a defined period to tackle a specific, often high-value challenge or initiative.
Where would you typically see this model used?
Big strategic pushes, like a major digital transformation program,
Hmm.
or maybe conducting complex compliance audits. Launching a new product might require specialized market analysis or system architecture design from outside experts.
So it's about getting that deep knowledge you don't have in-house, or maybe just need an external push for a specific goal.
Yeah, injecting that deep subject matter expertise, or sometimes just getting an objective outside perspective to kickstart something or get a complex project over the finish line when it might otherwise get bogged down internally.
Got it. So vetting these partners, what are the absolute must-haves when you're looking for professional services?
Deep domain knowledge is critical here. Expertise in your market, your specific challenge, and you absolutely need to see a proven track record. Have they done projects like this for companies like yours successfully?
Proof points.
Essential. Quality and timeliness are huge too. Can they actually deliver high-quality work on a realistic schedule? And because these projects are often strategic, maybe sensitive,
Security and IP?
non-negotiable,
No.
clear agreements on security, privacy, and who owns the intellectual property developed. And, like the others, communication and cultural fit matter a lot for working effectively with your internal teams.
Any less obvious things to check?
Maybe look at the provider's own stability, the reputation in the market. Even their digital presence, does it align with the expertise they claim? Pricing needs to be reasonable for the value, obviously. And clarity on control, responsibilities, who does what is vital,
Payment for these engagements seems project-based.
usually. Time and materials is common. Milestone-based payments are also popular pay as they hit key project phases, or sometimes a retainer contract if you need ongoing access to their advice for a set period.
Benefits seem clear. Quick access to deep expertise.
Expertise you probably don't have sitting around internally.
Accelerates those big strategic moves. And hopefully your team learns something too.
Yeah, knowledge transfer is often a key benefit if it's managed well. Your team can learn from working alongside these experts.
Okay, but the downside sounds expensive, potentially.
It can be, yeah. Especially for long engagements, the costs add up quickly. And there's a real risk.
Yeah.
Once the consultants leave, does the knowledge walk out the door with them? You need to actively manage that knowledge transfer piece.
Right, capture it somehow. Okay, so we've laid out these four models. But for that executive listening, understanding them is maybe step one. The real challenge often comes next, right? How do you actually pick the right model for your situation? And then how do you find the right partner without just guessing?
Exactly. And that's where data analysis really needs to come in. It shouldn't be a gut feeling decision.
So moving beyond intuition, how does data help here specifically?
Well, it makes the whole process objective. It gives you evidence. For example, before you even think about outsourcing, you'd analyze your internal costs for that function, right? Your current performance metrics, project future needs. Then you can properly weigh if the potential savings actually justify losing that control.
So data informs the model choice itself.
Absolutely, and it informs every other stage too. It's not just about crunching numbers after the fact.
Talk more about that. How does it turn raw data into, actual strategic insight?
Well, good analysis can reveal patterns or trends you just wouldn't see otherwise. Hidden inefficiencies, maybe. It lets you do scenario modeling. What if we used Model A versus Model B? What are the likely outcomes? For cost, for speed, for risk.
Forecasting.
Exactly. It helps you pinpoint where the problems are internally before you go looking for outside help, so you choose the right kind of help. It supports making decisions that are actually better for your customers, reduces that feeling of uncertainty, boosts confidence in the choice, and it sets you up to measure success later, right? Continuous improvement based on real metrics.
Okay, so data helps pick the model. Then you need to pick the provider. How do you use a structured approach beyond their sales pitch to really assess if they have the expertise you need?
You need a process. First step, get crystal clear on your end about what you need. Define the specific requirements, the exact skills, the industry know-how that's essential for this project or function. Then you dig in to their track record. Seriously dig. Ask for detailed case studies. Look at their portfolio. Crucially, ask for documented outcomes, real results from similar work they've done in your sector.
And references are still key.
Absolutely. Don't just get names, Actually talk to their previous clients. Ask the tough questions. How reliable were they? How did they handle problems when things went wrong? Because things sometimes do.
Good point. What else?
Look at the credentials of the actual people they plan to assign to your work. Not just the company overall, but the team. Check out their general reputation, industry recognition, what are analysts or peers saying,
Yeah.
and really probe their tech capabilities. Can they integrate? Do they have the right tools?
And ultimately, they need to show they get your business right, not just offer a cookie-cutter solution.
That's maybe the most important qualitative piece. Do they demonstrate a real understanding of your business goals? Can they explain how their approach is tailored specifically to help you achieve those objectives? It needs to feel like a strategic partnership, not just a transaction.
Okay, so as we start to wrap this up, it feels like the big takeaway is there's no single best model.
Definitely not. Outsourcing, outtasking, managed services, professional services, each has its own strategic sweet spot, its own benefits, its own trade-offs.
And the right choice for you really hinges on your specific goals, what you can handle internally already, and frankly, how much control you're willing to give up.
Exactly. It's context dependent.
Looking ahead, what trends are shaping this space? Are these models staying static?
Not really. We're seeing more hybrid approaches.
Yeah.
Companies mixing and matching elements from different models to fit really specific needs. That's becoming more common.
Interesting. What else?
Outcome-based contracts paying for results, not just activity. That's definitely gaining traction.
Mm.
And robust vendor governance, really actively managing these relationships, is becoming even more critical as they get more complex.
And internally, companies need to step up too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can't just sign a contract and wash your hands of it. Organizations need to invest in their own internal skills. Vendor management, contract negotiation, performance monitoring to actually get the maximum value out of these external partners. It's a two-way street.
Makes sense. So a final thought then for everyone listening as they think about their own partnerships.
Yeah, maybe think beyond just filling a gap or solving an immediate problem.
Ask yourself, how could a truly strategic partnership, using the right model with the right partner, not just fix something, but actually transform how you compete and innovate? How could it become a source of real competitive advantage?